I'm pregnant for your husband. The words hung in the air of Soo-jin Kim's private sitting room like a grenade with the pin pulled. Ella, the Nigerian maid who'd been in their household for only 3 months, stood with her hands clasped in front of her, her dark eyes meeting Soo-jin's without flinching. Soo-jin set down her teacup with deliberate care, her face a mask of composure that had taken 34 years to perfect. Around them, the morning light filtered through silk curtains, casting everything in a golden glow that felt obscene given what had just been said. I see, Soo-jin said, her voice steady. And does my husband know? Not yet, ma'am. I wanted to tell you first. Ella's Korean had improved dramatically over the past months. The thick accent she'd arrived with mysteriously evaporated. I thought you deserved to know before him. There was something in the way she said it, a weight, a knowing, that made Soo-jin's perfectly maintained composure crack just slightly. This wasn't supposed to happen yet. It was too soon. The timeline was all wrong. How far along? 8 weeks, ma'am. I took 3 tests to be sure. 8 weeks. Soo-jin did the mental calculation. That would put the conception right around the night of the charity gala. The night she'd orchestrated so carefully. The night that was supposed to be the beginning of her salvation. Sit down, Ella, Soo-jin said, gesturing to the chair across from her. We need to talk. Ella sat, and for the first time, Soo-jin noticed the slight tremor in the younger woman's hands. But he should be afraid. This was no small thing they were discussing. Before we continue, Soo-jin said carefully, I need to know something. Are you planning to keep this baby? The question landed between them like a challenge. Ella's eyes widened slightly, and something shifted in her expression. Surprise, perhaps, or recognition. That depends, Mrs. Kim, on what you're offering. And there it was. The moment Soo-jin had been simultaneously dreading and hoping for. The moment when the carefully constructed plan either came together or fell completely apart. But as she looked at Ella, really looked at her, Soo-jin realized something that sent ice through her veins. The maid was smiling. Not a nervous smile. Not an apologetic one. But a smile that suggested Ella knew far more than she should. A smile that suggested Soo-jin wasn't the only one playing a game. Mrs. Kim, Ella said, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. I think we both know this conversation is 3 months overdue. Don't you? 3 months earlier. The Kim estate sprawled across Pyeongchang-dong like a statement of power. All glass, steel, and carefully manicured gardens that cost more to maintain than most people earned in a year. Amara Okafor stood at the service entrance, her borrowed interview suit clinging to her back in the Seoul humidity, and wondered if she was making the biggest mistake of her life. Her phone buzzed. Another message from her sister Chioma. Any news? The hospital called again about Papa's bills. Amara silenced the phone. She couldn't think about that right now. Couldn't think about her father's deteriorating health or Chioma's university tuition that was 3 months overdue, or the fact that her student visa expired in exactly 14 days and she had nowhere near enough money for a flight home, much less the debts waiting for her there. Miss Okafor. The woman who appeared at the door looked like she'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. Soo-jin Kim wore cream silk that probably cost more than Amara's entire education. Her black hair falling in a perfect sheet down her back. Her face composed in a way that spoke of old money and older breeding. Yes, Mrs. Kim. Thank you for seeing me. Come in. The interior was even more intimidating than the exterior. Marble floors reflected Amara's nervous face back at her. Art that she recognized from her art history classes. Actual originals, not prints, hung casually on walls. The air itself seemed expensive, filtered through systems that probably cost more than a car. Soo-jin led her to a sitting room that overlooked the gardens. Please sit. Would you like tea? That's very kind, thank you. As Soo-jin poured from a pot that was definitely antique porcelain, Amara tried to remember the coaching she'd received from the employment agency. Be humble. Be grateful. Don't mention that your references are fabricated or that you're desperate enough to take any job, no matter how dubious. Your Korean is excellent, Soo-jin observed, handing her a cup. Thank you. I studied Korean literature at university. In Lagos. Yes, ma'am. Soo-jin smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. That's quite unusual. What made you interested in Korean culture? This was safe territory. I fell in love with Korean cinema first, then literature. Park Chan-wook, Bong Joon-ho, Hong Kang's novels. There's a complexity to Korean storytelling that fascinated me. And yet here you are, applying to be a maid. The words were delivered without malice, but they stung nonetheless. Amara set down her teacup carefully. Sometimes life doesn't go according to our plans, Mrs. Kim. No, Soo-jin agreed, something dark flickering across her face. It certainly doesn't. For a moment they sat in silence. Amara could hear her own heartbeat, could feel the weight of everything riding on this interview. If she didn't get this job, she was out of options. The employment agency had been clear. The Kims were her last chance. Miss Okafor, I'm going to be direct with you. Soo-jin set down her own cup and folded her hands in her lap. I had your background investigated. Amara's blood turned to ice. Your references are fake. The employment agency you came through is known for creative documentation. Your visa expires in 2 weeks. You have $400 in your bank account and you're 3 months behind on rent. Soo-jin's voice remained perfectly pleasant, as if she were discussing the weather. Your father has diabetes and needs medication your family can't afford. Your younger sister is trying to get into medical school but can't pay the tuition. Your mother works 3 jobs to keep your family afloat. Each fact was a knife finding its mark. Amara felt her carefully constructed composure crumbling. I can explain. You don't need to explain. I understand desperation, Miss Okafor. Soo-jin leaned forward slightly. The question is, how desperate are you? I don't understand. I think you do. But let me be clearer. Soo-jin pulled a folder from the side table and opened it. Inside were documents, contracts, medical reports, bank statements. I'm not hiring you to be a maid, Miss Okafor. I'm hiring you for something else entirely. Amara's hands were shaking now. What do you want? I want you to seduce my husband and have his baby. The words seemed to echo in the vast room. Amara laughed. A shocked, disbelieving sound that came out harsher than she intended. You're joking. I've never been more serious in my life. Soo-jin pushed the folder across the coffee table. 500 million won. That's approximately 400,000 US dollars. Half when you agree, half after you give birth to a healthy child. Amara stared at the number written on the first page. $400,000. It was more money than her family would see in 2 lifetimes. It was the answer to every prayer her mother had cried into the night. It was salvation. It was also impossible. I can't, this is insane. This is your only option. Soo-jin's voice cut through the panic like a blade. In 2 weeks, you'll be deported back to Nigeria. Your father will die because you can't afford his medication. Your sister will give up her dreams of medical school. Your mother will work herself into an early grave. And you'll spend the rest of your life wondering what you could have done differently. Every word found its target. Amara felt tears burning behind her eyes but refused to let them fall. Why? She whispered. Why would you do this? Soo-jin's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something raw and desperate underneath. Because I've been married for 7 years and I can't give my husband a child. Because his family is waiting for me to fail so they can replace me with someone more suitable. Because I love him enough to give him what he needs, even if it destroys me. The honesty was startling. Amara looked at this woman who had everything: wealth, beauty, status, and saw for the first time the desperation that mirrored her own. And after I give birth, what happens to me? To the baby? The child will be raised as mine, as the legitimate Kim heir. They'll have every advantage, every opportunity. You'll walk away with your money and your freedom. No one will ever know the truth. Your husband will know. When I seduce him, he'll know. No. Soo-jin's smile was bitter. He won't. Because you won't just seduce him, Miss Okafor. You'll make him fall in love with you. Amara walked out of the Kim estate in a daze, Soo-jin's business card burning a hole in her pocket. She had 24 hours to decide. After that, Soo-jin would find someone else, someone more willing, more desperate, more morally flexible. The goshawan she rented in Itaewon was a 9-square-meter box that smelled like mildew and kimchi from the unit below. She sat on her thin mattress and stared at the card. One phone call. That's all it would take. Her phone buzzed. A voice message from her mother, and just hearing the exhaustion in her voice made Amara's chest tight. Amara, my dear. The hospital is threatening to stop your father's treatment. They say we need to pay something, anything, by Friday or they'll move him to the public ward. Pause, heavy with things unsaid. We trust in God. He will provide. He always does. I love you, my daughter. God will provide. Her mother had been saying that for years while they sank deeper into debt, while her father's health deteriorated, while Chioma's brilliant mind faced a future in their uncle's shop because they couldn't afford university. What if God was providing? What if this impossible, immoral opportunity was the answer to years of prayers? Amara opened her laptop and did what she'd been avoiding. She researched Jin-woo Kim. The articles painted a picture of a man who seemed too good to be real. The humanist heir, one headline called him. Breaking the chaebol mold. He'd turned down his father's real estate empire to build a tech company focused on accessible education. He volunteered at children's hospitals. He'd been photographed at protests for workers' rights, standing alongside people who earned in a month what his watch probably cost. And the photos of him with Soo-jin showed a couple who looked genuinely in love. The way he looked at her, the way their hands found each other in public, the casual intimacy that spoke of real affection. Amara was being asked to destroy that. To manipulate a good man, deceive him, use his body for reproduction, and then disappear with his child. The thought made her physically sick. But then she opened the email from Chioma, a scan of her medical school acceptance letter, with a note at the bottom. Tuition due in 30 days. I'll figure something out. Don't worry about me. Don't worry. As if Amara could do anything else. She picked up her phone and dialed before she could change her mind. Mrs. Kim. This is Amara Okafor. I accept your offer. The transformation began immediately. Soo-jin had planned every detail with the precision of a military operation. Your name is now Ella, Soo-jin explained over coffee in an anonymous hotel room the next morning. It's simpler, easier to remember, and it distances you from your real identity. You're from a small village outside Lagos, remote enough that details are difficult to verify. You speak minimal Korean, which excuses any cultural mistakes and makes you seem less educated than you are. You've thought of everything. I've had 7 years to think about it. Soo-jin pushed a folder across the table. This is your new identity. Study it. Memorize it. Become her. Over the next 2 weeks, Amara watched her old life disappear. The first payment hit her account. 250 million won. She immediately transferred money for her father's treatment, Chioma's tuition, and her family's accumulated debts. The relief in her mother's voice when she called was almost enough to justify what she was doing. Almost. A stylist reshaped her natural hair into a softer style. She was given new clothes. Modest, simple, the kind a maid from a small village might wear to her first wealthy employer. Colored contacts slightly lightened her dark brown eyes. Nothing dramatic, but enough to make her look different from the student visa photo that might still exist in some database. You need to be attractive but not obviously so, Soo-jin instructed during one of their planning sessions. Jin-woo must feel like he's discovering something, not being presented with a gift. The most disturbing part was the depth of information Soo-jin had on her own husband. She'd created a dossier that would make an intelligence agency proud. Jin-woo wakes at 6 every morning and runs for exactly 1 hour. He takes his coffee black, no sugar. He reads for 30 minutes before bed. Currently Murakami. He plays piano when he's stressed. He drinks whiskey on Fridays while listening to jazz. Soo-jin recited the information without emotion. He's lonely in ways he doesn't even recognize. His family sees him as an heir, his employees as a boss, his friends as a success story. No one sees him as just Jin-woo. And you want me to be that person. I want you to be what I can't be anymore. For the first time, real emotion cracked through Soo-jin's composure. When we first married, I was that for him. The person who saw past everything else. But 7 years of failed fertility treatments, of seeing disappointment in his eyes every month, of feeling his family's judgment. Somewhere along the way, we stopped being husband and wife and became two people managing a crisis. Then fix it. Talk to him. See a therapist. Try. I've tried everything. Soo-jin's voice rose before she caught herself. Do you think this is my first choice? Do you think I want to pay someone to sleep with my husband? This is the only option left that keeps my marriage intact. Amara wanted to argue, wanted to point out the fundamental flaw in that logic. But she'd taken the money. Her father was receiving treatment. Chioma was enrolled in medical school. Her mother had stopped crying herself to sleep. She was complicit now. Past the point of moral high ground. When do I start? Monday. Be ready. The staff entrance to the Kim estate felt different when Amara, Ella now, arrived with her single suitcase on Monday morning. This time she wasn't a desperate job seeker. She was an infiltrator, a spy in domestic clothing, a woman with a mission that made her stomach twist with guilt. Mrs. Choi, the head housekeeper, was a woman in her late 50s with kind eyes and capable hands. She welcomed Ella with maternal warmth. You must be Ella. Mrs. Kim has told me all about you. Come, let me show you around. The staff quarters were nicer than Amara's Gosha one. A private room with an actual bathroom, a small sitting area, and a window that looked out over the gardens. Felt like luxury, and that somehow made everything worse. You're very lucky, Mrs. Choi said as she explained the household routine. The Kims are good people. Respectful, fair. Mr. Kim especially. He always remembers our birthdays, always asks about our families. You'll be happy here. Each kind word about Jin-woo was another weight on Amara's conscience. The morning passed in training. She learned that Jin-woo liked his coffee precisely at 7:30 a.m. after his run. That Soo-jin practiced yoga at 5 a.m. every morning. That they had dinner together every evening at 8 p.m. unless business interfered. That they'd been trying for a baby for 7 years. And the whole staff hoped this year would be the one. They'd be wonderful parents, Mrs. Choi said wistfully. The way Mr. Kim is with his nephew. You can see how much he wants children of his own. Amara felt sick. At 7:30 a.m., she was in the kitchen when she heard footsteps. She looked up and saw him for the first time in person. Jin-woo Kim was taller than his photos suggested, broader in the shoulders. He wore running clothes damp with sweat. His dark hair pushed back from his forehead. He had the kind of face that would age well, strong features softened by something gentle in his eyes. Those eyes found her now, curious and friendly. You must be Ella. Welcome to our home. He spoke slowly, clearly, adjusting his Korean for her supposed limited proficiency. Amara bowed deeply, making her accent deliberately thick. Thank you, sir. I'm very grateful for opportunity. His smile was genuine, warm. We're happy to have you. I hope Mrs. Choi isn't working you too hard on your first day. Everyone very kind, sir. He poured himself water from the filter, still watching her with friendly curiosity. Where in Nigeria are you from? Small village. Very different from Seoul. She kept her answers short, simple, playing the role Soo-jin had written for her. I'm sure it's a big adjustment. If you need anything, please don't hesitate to ask. He raised his glass in a small salute. Welcome to the family, Ella. As he walked away toward the stairs, Amara's hands shook so badly she nearly dropped the dishes she was holding. Mrs. Choi chuckled beside her. See. Told you. Good people. Good people, Amara thought. She was being paid to destroy good people. The days fell into a rhythm that felt both surreal and oddly domestic. Amara cleaned, cooked, learned the patterns of the Kim household. And she watched. She watched Jin-woo kiss Soo-jin's cheek each morning before leaving for work, a gesture so automatic it seemed unconscious. She watched Soo-jin touch his arm when they passed in hallways, maintaining physical connection. She watched them sit across from each other at dinner, conversation flowing easily about their days, about politics, about a documentary they'd watched. From the outside they looked like the perfect couple. But Amara also noticed what wasn't there. The way Jin-woo sometimes paused before entering a room, as if bracing himself. The way Soo-jin's smile never quite reached her eyes. The way they were affectionate but never passionate, connected but somehow distant. It was a marriage that had all the right components but had somehow forgotten what they were building. On Wednesday evening, Amara was collecting coffee cups from Jin-woo's study when she found him staring at his computer screen with visible frustration. His hands were in his hair, his shoulders tight with tension. "Problem, sir." The words slipped out before she could stop them. He looked up, startled, then laughed ruefully. "Just work headaches. Nothing serious." She should have left. That was the protocol Mrs. Choi had explained. But something about his expression, the loneliness Soo-jin had described, made her pause. "My father say. Stress like knot in rope. Need to untangle slow, not pull hard." Jin-woo's expression shifted, something warming in his eyes. "Your father sounds wise. Very wise man. He teach me. How you say? Perspective. I think I need some of that." Jin-woo leaned back in his chair. "Everything in my world is so complicated. Layers and layers of strategy and consideration. Sometimes I forget there are simple truths underneath all of it." This was the moment Soo-jin had described. The crack in the armor where connection could slip through. Amara knew she should press forward, should offer more wisdom, more understanding, more of whatever Jin-woo was clearly hungry for. Instead, she felt the weight of the manipulation crushing her. "Sometimes simple truth is hardest to see," she said softly. "Is right in front, but we look past it." Jin-woo studied her face. "You're very observant, Ella. I can tell, even through the language barrier. I try to understand people, sir. Is important." "Yes," he agreed. "It is." The moment stretched between them, and Amara saw how easy it would be. How natural it would feel to stay, to talk, to let this connection deepen into something neither of them could control. She picked up the cups and bowed. "I let you work now, sir." As she left, she felt his eyes following her. And she felt Soo-jin's presence too, though the older woman was nowhere in sight. The weight of expectations, of money transferred, of a plan set in motion. That night, alone in her room, Amara texted Soo-jin. "This is going to take time. He's not someone who can be rushed." The response came immediately. "You have 1 year. Use it wisely. 1 year to seduce a married man. 1 year to conceive and carry a child. 1 year to become someone she wasn't and then disappear." The timeline felt both impossibly long and frighteningly short. By the second week, Amara had learned to navigate the subtle politics of the Kim household. Mrs. Choi was her ally, always willing to explain Korean customs Amara pretended not to understand. Mr. Park, the driver, was quiet but kind. The part-time cleaning staff treated her with casual friendliness, happy to have another young person around. And Jin-woo had started seeking her out. Nothing inappropriate, just small conversations that happened naturally as she went about her duties. He'd ask about Nigeria, about her family, about her impressions of Korea. She'd respond in her carefully constructed broken Korean, playing the role of humble maid trying her best. But sometimes the mask would slip. Sometimes the real Amara would emerge, the woman who'd studied Korean literature, who had opinions about Han Kang's poetry, who understood the cultural nuances Jin-woo referenced without thinking. "You're much smarter than you pretend to be," Jin-woo said one morning, catching her completely off guard. They were in the kitchen, and Amara had just finished preparing his coffee exactly how he liked it, something she'd learned from observation, not instruction. "And not pretend, sir. Just try to learn. He took a sip of coffee, his eyes never leaving hers. You know, when someone is intelligent, it shows in everything they do. The way they observe, the way they process information, the way they adapt. You can hide language proficiency, but you can't hide the way your mind works. Amara's heart raced. This was dangerous territory. Thank you, sir. I work hard to improve. I'm sure you do. He set down his cup. Tell me about your sister. Chioma, right? She'd mentioned Chioma once in passing a week ago. The fact that he remembered sent warmth through her chest, and immediately made her feel guilty for the warmth. She very smart. Wannabe doctor. She's studying hard. That's a noble goal. Medicine is a demanding field. Yes, have, how you say, calling. She want to help people. Like her sister. Jin-woo smiled. You're helping your family by being here. That's its own kind of calling. The irony was almost too much to bear. Amara was helping her family by lying to his face, by planning to seduce him, by carrying out his wife's elaborate deception. I just do what I must do, sir. We all do. Something shifted in Jin-woo's expression, something melancholy. Sometimes I wonder if doing what we must do is the same as doing what's right. The comment was so unexpected, so vulnerable, that Amara forgot her role for a moment. I think sometimes there is no right choice. Only choice that hurt less. Jin-woo stared at her, and in his eyes she saw recognition. He was lonely in his marriage, trapped by expectations, doing what was required rather than what he wanted. In that moment they were mirrors of each other. Two people compromising themselves for reasons that felt both necessary and wrong. That's remarkably insightful, Ella. My father teach me. He say, life is not about good and bad. Is about what we can live with. Your father really is wise. Jin-woo picked up his coffee. I'd like to meet him someday. The casual comment was a punch to the gut. Meet her father. The man whose life she'd saved with blood money earned by agreeing to betray the man standing in front of her. Maybe someday, sir. After Jin-woo left for work, Amara stood in the kitchen, her hands gripping the counter edge. She'd been in the house for 2 weeks, and already the lines were blurring. She was supposed to be playing a role, but the conversations felt real. The connection felt real. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. Her phone buzzed. A message from Soo-jin, progress report. Meet me for lunch. They met at an expensive cafe in Gangnam, far enough from the Kim estate to avoid recognition. Soo-jin wore oversized sunglasses and a silk scarf, the kind of disguise that somehow made her more noticeable, not less. You've been in the house for 2 weeks, Soo-jin said without preamble. He's comfortable with you. I've seen how he seeks you out. He's friendly with everyone. It doesn't mean. It means you're doing exactly what I hired you to do. Building connection, establishing trust. Soo-jin stirred her coffee with precise movements. But we need to accelerate the timeline. Amara's stomach dropped. You said I had a year. I said you had time. But Jin-woo's mother is pressuring us about grandchildren again. His cousin just announced her pregnancy. The family pressure is intensifying. Soo-jin's perfectly manicured hand trembled slightly. I need results, Miss Okafor. You can't rush this. If I push too hard, he'll sense something wrong. Then don't push. Create opportunities. Soo-jin pulled out a calendar. Next Friday I have a charity gala. Jin-woo will stay home. He hates these events. You'll bring him dinner in his study. Wear something appropriate. Appropriate. Not a maid's uniform. Something that reminds him you're a woman, not just staff. Soo-jin's eyes were hard behind the sunglasses. I'm not asking you to throw yourself at him. I'm asking you to remove one more barrier between you. Amara thought about Jin-woo in his study, the vulnerability he sometimes showed, the loneliness that radiated from him despite being surrounded by people who loved him. What if he rejects me? He won't. He's already half in love with you, even if he doesn't know it yet. Soo-jin leaned forward. I know my husband, Miss Okafor. I know what he needs, what he craves. And right now, he needs someone who sees him as more than the CEO, more than the heir, more than the husband who can't produce children. He needs his wife to see him that way. The words came out before Amara could stop them. Soo-jin's face went very still. Excuse me. He needs you, Mrs. Kim. Not me. The woman he married. The woman he actually loves. Amara knew she was crossing a line, but she couldn't stop. Have you talked to him? Actually talked to him about how you feel, about the pressure, about any of this? Our marriage is none of your concern. It became my concern when you paid me to sleep with him. They stared at each other across the table. Two women caught in a scheme that felt increasingly doomed. Soo-jin was the first to look away. You don't understand our situation. Then help me understand. Because from where I'm sitting, you're destroying something good because you're too afraid to fight for it. Love isn't enough. The words burst from Soo-jin, loud enough that nearby tables glanced over. She lowered her voice, but the intensity remained. Love doesn't make babies. Love doesn't satisfy family obligations. Love doesn't save marriages when everyone around you is watching, waiting for you to fail. But lies will. Lies will give Jin-woo a child. They'll secure the family line. They'll release the pressure valve that's been building for 7 years. Soo-jin's voice cracked. And yes, if I'm lucky, they'll save my marriage. Amara saw the desperation clearly now. This wasn't a cold calculation. This was a woman drowning, making choices that seemed insane from the outside but felt like the only option from within. What happens after? Amara asked quietly. After I give birth. After you raise my child as yours. Do you think Jin-woo will never wonder why the child doesn't look quite right? Why there are no baby photos with you pregnant? Do you think you can maintain this lie forever? I'll handle that when it comes. Will you? Or will the lies just keep multiplying until they bury you both? Soo-jin stood abruptly. Next Friday. Dinner. Make it count. She pulled out an envelope and set it on the table. There's money in there for appropriate clothing. Don't disappoint me, Miss Okafor. You've already been paid. After she left, Amara opened the envelope. 10 million won in cash. Money for clothes to seduce another woman's husband. She thought about returning it. Thought about walking away from the whole sick arrangement. Then her phone rang. Chioma's number. Amara. Uni. Her sister's voice was pure joy. I just finished my first week of classes. It's everything I dreamed of. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm actually going to be a doctor. Amara closed her eyes and clutched the envelope. That's wonderful, Chi. I'm so proud of you. 5. None of this would be possible without you. Whatever you're doing in Korea, whatever sacrifices you're making, just know it matters. You're changing our family's entire future. After the call ended, Amara sat in the cafe for a long time, the envelope in her hands, the weight of her choices crushing her chest. She'd made a devil's bargain. And devils always collected their due. Friday arrived with the weight of inevitability. Amara watched Soo-jin prepare for the charity gala. Designer gown, diamonds at her throat, the perfect picture of a chaebol wife. Jin-woo straightened his wife's necklace, kissed her cheek, and told her she looked beautiful. The tenderness between them was a knife in Amara's gut. After Soo-jin left, the house felt different. Quieter. The staff had been given the evening off. Another of Soo-jin's careful arrangements. It was just Amara and Jin-woo, alone in the vast estate. She went to her room and looked at the dress Soo-jin had selected. Burgundy silk, modest but figure-hugging, professional but undeniably feminine. Not a maid's uniform. A reminder, as Soo-jin had said, that she was a woman. Amara changed slowly, her hands shaking. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the person staring back. When had she become someone who would do this? But she thought of Chioma in medical school. Of her father receiving treatment. Of her mother who'd stopped crying. Of the money that had transformed her family's circumstances overnight. She picked up the dinner tray and walked toward Jin-woo's study. He was at his desk, absorbed in work, his reading glasses sliding down his nose. He'd loosened his tie, and there was something vulnerable about him in this unguarded moment, something that made Amara's heart ache with what she was about to do. "Sir, I bring dinner." Jin-woo looked up, and his expression shifted when he saw her. Surprise, then something else, awareness maybe, or recognition that something had changed. "Ella, you look." He paused, searching for words. "Different." She felt heat creep up her neck. This was the moment Soo-jin had orchestrated.
If you're enjoying this story, hit the like button and subscribe for more amazing love stories. Stay tuned. Part 2 drops soon.